Hi, this is U.S. Senator Marco Rubio from Florida, and this is this week's edition of Constituent Mailbox. You know, this week we've been getting a lot of emails and letters about the so-called August recess. What that basically means is that for the month of August, neither the House nor the Senate will be meeting and passing bills here in Washington, D.C. So as you can imagine, I've gotten a lot of emails about that and a lot of concern about why is Congress taking this time off. And let me just start out by saying I'm willing to stay here in August and work. I certainly think the country faces some significant challenges that need to be confronted. But let me read some of the emails I've gotten. The first is from Robert, Fort Myers Beach, Florida, and he writes, "Firemen run into fire, police run towards the gunfire, the country's going bankrupt, and Congress takes the month of August off." Brian in Jupiter writes, "Without a 2014 budget passed, why is the legislative branch going into recess in August? If you passed a budget, we wouldn't have to worry about a continuing budget resolutions. Since we have not had a budget passed for many years, I worry about pay for essential services. If the legislative branch cannot perform its constitutional tasks to pass a budget, what is your recommendation?" Well, two separate questions. Let me talk about the recess first. Like I said, I'm willing to stay here and work. That's not what's going to happen. The theory behind August recess is that members of Congress have to go home to their home states and have to confront the people that elected them. It's an opportune time to travel the state, if you're a senator, or your district, if you're a member of Congress, and hear from the people back home. Whether it's in one-on-one meetings, town halls, visits to places, engaging and interacting with your constituents. So you go home, you hear from them on a full-time basis over a 3 or 4 week period, and then you come back to Washington and hopefully turn their opinions into reality. That's the theory behind August recess. That's what I'll be doing during that time. I'll be touring different parts of the state. I'll be going, for example, to a military installation in the Panhandle. I'll be visiting other communities around the state. It's also a timely time to do that because kids are going back to school, so people are coming back from summer vacation, and they're there to be able to talk to you. I think it's going to be more important than ever this year because, as the second email from Brian points out, we haven't passed a budget in quite a while. The fundamental problem with passing a budget, for the most part, for over 1,000 some odd days was the Senate. The Democrats that controlled the Senate didn't produce a budget. They finally did, but it's not a balanced budget. It's a budget that raises taxes and grows our debt. And that's the fundamental problem we face. Look, what I say to people all the time is that the most important thing the government needs to be focused on, other than national security, is creating an environment where jobs can be created. How are jobs created? When you have a pro-growth environment. That means when America becomes an easier and better place to start a business or to grow an existing business. That's how middle-class jobs are created. And so we should be looking for what can we do to make it easier for people to start businesses, grow existing businesses, and thereby create jobs for the middle class. And the debt is making it harder for people to do that. The reason why the debt makes it harder for people to do that is because it scares people from risking their money. At the end of the day, in order to grow a business or to start a new one, someone has to take money they have access to, whether they're borrowing it or they've saved it, and they have to risk it. The reason why they're willing to risk it is because they think they can make money in the future, that the business will succeed. The reason why they're afraid to do that now is because they're looking at this debt and they're looking at other countries that have debt crisis, and they're saying, look what happens in those countries that have a debt crisis. You have these disruptive changes in government spending, you have these dramatic increases in taxes, and that uncertainty and the lack of a plan to fix it is scaring people from investing and risking money they have access to. And the result is we don't have enough businesses being started. We don't have enough people growing their businesses. And as a result, middle-class jobs aren't being created, and the American people are hurting. And that's the reason why a budget hasn't passed. Because we refuse to vote for, I will not vote for, a budget plan that does not show how it's eventually going to get to balance and get our country out of the debt problem that it faces. So I'll keep working on that, and I'm sure I'll hear about that during my travels in August. But I want you to know that I'm committed to that principle. Because the debt issue, it's a moral hazard. It hurts future generations for sure. But it's also an economic harm that it's doing right now. There are jobs that are not going to be created this year because we have run up a close to $17 trillion debt, and there's no plan in place to fix it. And that's what I'll be focused on throughout the month of August and when we return here in September. So again, I want to thank all of you for writing us and emailing us. You know, your input is valuable. We look at that and it gives us an indication of what's on your mind. We always want our work here to be relevant to your day-to-day life, and your emails and letters help. So thank you so much for contacting me. To all of you that have written us, please continue to send your emails and your letters, because who knows, maybe next week it'll be your email or letter that we read here in Constituent Mailbox. Until then, again, I want to thank you for the privilege of serving you here in Washington. It is truly an honor and a blessing. May God bless all of you. May God bless the great state of Florida. And may God always continue to bless these United States of America. Thank you so much.